Hey everybody, and welcome back to Tenza Motorsports. Today's video is a little bit different because the part that I've got that we're installing is used, and so I'm not doing an unboxing. The parts are kind of slapped together a little bit here because it was used. It was pulled out of another car. The previous owner of this part went to like a 6-point roll cage, which is something we'd like to do here, at very least a half cage. And so I'm gonna be installing this part. I did not have a rear bar in this car for the longest time, and right now I just have it on the top of the struts, but we're actually gonna be tying it into the subframe. It actually ties into the chassis itself instead of just being a bar that runs across. I traded this for some work, so I got it for free. I just was helping a buddy out and he gave it to me as payment. So worked out pretty well for me. Before we get into today's project, make sure you are subscribed to the channel if you like this type of content. Also make sure to follow us on Instagram, Tenza_Motorsports. We do giveaways. We just got done with a giveaway that was provided by Shadow Motors. Pretty cool stuff. So there's gonna be a lot more giveaways coming up. So this Mason bar here, you can find these on eBay. I'm not sure where else. I'm assuming they've got a website, but that's where a lot of people are finding these parts. Good quality stuff, US company, and I'll have all of their information linked in the description below. Okay, let's get up close to this and I'll show what's going on. So here is the back of my car. If you're following the channel closely, you'll know that I'm doing a whole bunch of work to the back of this. So you need to ignore some of the stuff that's going on back here. All this hardware is because the subframe is out. You do not have to remove the subframe to do this job, and we'll go over how to install it here in just a moment, but I want to go over the components here real quick. Now, for everybody who's got a interior in their car, get all your carpets out and basically strip your trunk out, get it ready to go for this. I'm not going to show how to do that. Two reasons. One, there's a bazillion videos on how to do it, and two, my interior is already gone. It's going to come with this center bar. You've got bolts here, and then it just ties into your strut there on the top. You have 4 sets of these, a bolt, a nut with the nylon, which is nice. All the stuff that this kit has is all nylon nuts, and then a couple washers. 2 on each side. There's a little hole here, and there's a little hole just out of camera view. So there's 2 on the inside you can kind of see, and then 2 just around the other side of the strut tower. You will just drill a hole the size of this bolt and run that through. In order to do this, you need to have your car up in the air, have your tires off in the back so you can get at the wheel wells, and you might have to take off some splash shielding in your wheel wells. Subframe is pretty easy. There is 2 big bolts in the back. Here's one of them. You'll remove these, keep everything else. You'll remove these, and then what you'll be doing is with their provided guide tool, you'll thread this in, and then you'll use their provided drill bit. And what this does is allow you to create that hole without damaging the threads. Once that hole is drilled into the bottom, you'll run these up through. You will no longer use these. You'll use the, I'm going to be reusing the washer, the big washer obviously, but you will no longer use these, and it'll actually come up through this. You'll have another nylon nut and a washer on top of that. So you have this tied to the top of your suspension, this tied to your subframe, and to connect them, you'll be using these adjustment rods here, and they go kind of diagonally like that. I'm going to drill the 4 holes up top here. I will tell you what drill bit size it is right here. I don't know it off the top of my head. You'll just go based on these. This may not be a complete kit. I don't know if there was a drill bit that came for this. I don't know if there was another drill bit after this one, but I will give you all the sizes that I use both here and then put it down in the comments as well. So yeah, really excited to get this done. I've had this part for a long time, and I finally just slapped in the back because I wanted to have something back there. So yeah, let's start with the easy stuff. These 4 holes up top, and we'll go from there. Here we are on the outside of the car. Here's my K-Sport coilover. And I thought, when I first saw this, I was like, geez, is it good to have that much material hanging out? But there's no way the strut will ever come anywhere near that. And I don't actually have them tighten up all the way. They will actually go up into the nylon a little bit more, but it's hard to have somebody in the trunk and have somebody out here when you're all by yourself. So for right now, this is what they look like. When I get somebody to help me, we'll run those in the rest of the way. Now we're gonna get underneath the car, and I'm gonna show how to drill those holes going up into the trunk. So here we are underneath the car. This is where the subframe normally sits. This is where your OEM springs would sit. Just over here, it's the rear, not the front. It's the rear bolts, and they're bolts. The fronts are studs, the rears are bolts. You'll pull those bolts out, and you'll take this guide, and you'll slide it up in there. And once we have that in, we'll take our drill bit, and this will drill a perfectly centered hole. Once we drill this hole here, and then the one on the other side, we'll then go back up to the trunk and drill, and we'll go back up to the trunk and drill just the top to bore it out. And then that way we don't have to run a big drill bit through here and damage the threads. All right, so here comes the hardest part of the entire project. Because so far everything's just been, you know, drill a couple holes, bolt a few things up. I need to get a hole saw, and I'm going to be using a looks like 2 1/4 or a 57 millimeter. This needs to sit flat against the frame, which is actually underneath this sheet metal here. And so instead of it sitting at an angle, because this is not flat, this right here means the hole needs to be bigger and it's not centered. If you did a hole saw here at this point, you know, it'd be too wide here and then too narrow there. So we're actually going to be sawing just to the outside edge of where you were doing the hole before. I'll do one there, one on the other side, and then from here, you're just bolting everything together again. Okay, we now have the holes drilled. Like I said, I just off-centered them a little bit. I'll show you how that bar fits in there, and then I'm gonna go through and clean everything up. So you can see there's that stud sticking up. Now that will come through much higher. That will actually sit like up here. So it's just sitting in there as kind of an alignment, and you can see I got the hole plenty big enough that everything fits. Both sides look real nice. I'm now gonna clean up all the metal shavings, put everything away, and I will have linked everything I used today. So here is the bar fully installed. It really isn't that complicated of a process. Couple holes, you use the guide pin to do that one, then you use a bigger bit and then a hole saw. And obviously it's easier with the rear end out, in my opinion, but this is a, I don't know, 2 or 3 hour job. I don't know how much of this kit was actually missing. It looked like most of it was there, but I felt like I was missing a few washers. This all thread right here was kind of gummed up, and so it took me a little bit longer than normal just because I had to fight it. The other thing was having a second person with you definitely helps. These bolts here on the sides, and then these all threads right here where it's got the nylon nuts, it'll get started and then it wants to run the all thread back through. If you get this tightened down, then it'll lock everything in place and then you can do whatever you need to do. But just getting those all threads, because it kept wanting to run the stud back and forth as you put the nut on. So I'd put the nut and it'd run it down to the bottom. I'd go underneath and put one on to try to run it back up, and then I just went and played back and forth until I got a second person to help me out. Anyways, thanks everybody so much for watching. This is fantastic. Honestly, daily driver, these look way awesome when you cut into the carpet and stuff like that. And as long as you're not like trying to put a ton of stuff in your trunk, or if you've got, well, I mean, you could still even make this work with like a subwoofer, but I think this is absolutely awesome. I would definitely save up your money just a little bit more and get something like this. So thanks everybody so much for watching. Comments, questions down in the comment section below. I will see everybody in the next video.
Bam!